Welcome, everybody. If everyone could just take a seat or quiet down. So welcome, everybody, to the Town of Orangetown Town Board meeting of November 28th, 2023. Mr. Thomason?
All right. Councilman Tom Dibney?
Here.
Councilman Paul Valentine?
Here.
Councilman Jerry Vittori?
Here.
Councilman Brian Donahue?
Here.
And Supervisor Chris Kent.
Here. And we're going to start with the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, so we have one quick announcement that the 32nd Annual Santa Claus 5K run is going to be on Sunday, December 10th. If you can sign up at the orangetown.com at the Parks and Rec. And for our next announcement, I don't know, for those of you who did not find out, it was late this afternoon, the public hearing for the zone change for the winery, cidery, is postponed. So just so you know that how it happened, late Monday, after 5 o'clock, we got notice that a judge had signed an order basically preventing the applicant from moving forward, prosecuting their zone change application, and at the same time put a stay on the town board from having the hearing. We were not a party to the action, and arguably there was probably some legal basis for us to challenge it, but without the applicant being able to prosecute it, it didn't seem that we could go forward with the hearing anyway. This morning, I got a call from the Rockland Cider Works attorney that they were putting in papers with the court to try to get the court to undo the stay on the hearing, and we didn't find out till probably 3:30, 4 o'clock this afternoon that it was denied, meaning that the stay stays in place. So there is no public hearing on the zone change for the Cider Works tonight by court order, so there's no confusion. With that said, you're entitled to get up. You have 3 minutes. It's not a public hearing per se. You have our regular public comments. You get 3 minutes. You can talk about anything you want, but we're not going to engage back and forth about cider works or zone change because we are under court order not to have a public hearing. So that's how that happened. So on that note, we're going to workshop our town board agendas. Okay. Okay. So that's number 3 right there. We're going to go number 3 for, I think the general understanding is going to be adjourned until January 23rd, and that's basically because, well, we don't even know what's going to happen with the underlying court order, but our first meeting in January is our reorg meeting, so the second meeting would be January 23rd. So that's, as we sit here today, the plan is to continue it till January 23rd.
Postpone it. We're just postponing.
What's that?
Just being postponed, not continued.
Postponed.
Postpone.
Postponed. Okay. Tonight we're going to continue with our public hearing on the parking situation down in South Nyack. I don't know if there's people here for that, but we've been working on the parking study for South Nyack, and that's going to continue our public hearing on that. So that's 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, number 9 I'm up to is basically we had, during the emergency orders of COVID, we had allowed certain properties to park vehicles outside. This is basically understanding that the emergency order is no longer and making it, we're going to hold a public hearing to basically do a zone change to allow it under certain circumstances. That's number 10. Number 11 is our contract with Candle. That's the agreement we do every year that works with the school districts, with the students. Yep. Number 12, again, another contract we do every year with the Hudson Valley Humane Society to deal with our shelter services. 13 and 14 are essentially our contracts with the Volunteer Fire District and the libraries. Again, something we do regularly. Number 15 is a renewal agreement with Toshiba for the copier leases. Number 16, Jim's not here today, so I don't know, but upon the recommendation of the superintendent of highways, he wants to increase the fee that we charge for the drop-off. I know we haven't raised it in a couple of years, but I think it's from 50 to 60, Stefan, do you know, is that what it is? Yeah. Number 17 is our caretaker agreement. 18 is our caretaker agreement. 19 is accepting the retirement of Andrew DeMiola from the Police Department. Number 20 is basically an add-on for the Town Hall demolition project, some kind of air monitoring that was recommended that we need to do. 21, engagement letter from Capital Market. They're our financial advisors, and Jeff will answer any questions if you have any. And 22 is PKF O'Connor's, our auditing services. So number 23 and 24, I believe we need to go into an executive session for. So can I get a motion to go into executive session? Tom Divity moved. Second?
Second.
Jerry Vitale, all in favor?
Aye.
This basically is some personnel-related matters, so we're going to go into executive session with our attorney, and I don't know if Bob is here. There's some.
Can we get through the rest? I think it's.
Oh, okay, we can finish it and then, yeah, so that's basically 23 and 24. So 25 is a reclassification for U. Davies and the in the assessor's office. This was pursuant to a desk audit. We have lend assistance for 26 for shared Christmas with the Rotary, which is December 15th. I thought we had another one.
Town board.
Town board calendar. And then some town clerk things. Okay, so on that note, we're going to go into executive session real quick. We promise to be as quick as we can. All day I wanted to do it. He kept saying, oh, what's the judge on? I know, okay. Okay, so we finished, so, okay. So we are back. Should we do the, we'll do the
We
public,
gotta come
should we
back
do the
into-
public hearing on the parking?
We have
Yeah.
time, don't we?
Okay, yeah. Okay, so we're going to go straight to the public hearing on the South Nyack parking, because it looks like we'll be through that before we'll be through the public comment. So that is,
Yes. I think we got to come out of
out of executive session.
executive session. So I make a motion, come out of executive session
Second.
back into.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Okay. Number 5, can I get a motion to resume the public hearing regarding Chapter 24 parking lots and meters and vehicle and traffic in the hamlet of South Nyack?
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Dave, you want to make a presentation? Is that how we're going to do this? Come on up. You're the expert. You and Rob Magrino are the expert.
It's our baby.
I'm David Gilmore from LaBerge Group. We helped craft the parking law. Last time we were here at the public hearing, you received public comments, and there were various focus locations like Baracha, Terrace Drive, Shady Side, Gessner Avenue, and we did meet with municipal stakeholders and go over the law, and we've presented for public display the revised law. We took away the 2-hour standard for the first 300 feet on Gessner from essentially the edge of pavement by the Vest Pocket Park, because it's crowded down there and concerns, especially with night loitering. We provided eased allowance on Shady Side on the west side, especially about 300 feet from the intersection with, I guess it's 9W. And we adjusted Terrace to allow some access for parking right by the sort of what I would call the southern end, below Prospect, and I think that's the gist of it. I know that you've received comments on the possibility for parking blocking the access to some steep stairs on Shady Side Avenue where there's limited driveway access. So I think that a fix for that could be for you to also, you have a law before you tonight, and if you're prepared after the public hearing, if nothing additional comes up, I think the recommendation would be to adjust the town code, section 39.3, prohibition on all-night parking, part B, where it discusses the locations. I beg your pardon. 39.5, prohibition on stopping, standing, or parking in specified places. There's a standard for that vehicles can't stand or park in front of a public or private driveway. And since this is sort of critical access to a property, if it doesn't have much for driveway access, and this stairway is really important, I would recommend adding in 39.5B1, after the existing standard for in front of that you can't stand or park a vehicle, whether occupied or not, except momentarily to pick up or discharge a passenger or passengers in front of a public or private driveway, I suggest comma, or essential property access, and I think that'll cover making sure that there's not parking in front of the driveway.
Stairs.
Stairs.
Yeah,
Right.
so
Sorry, stairs.
Rob, when we were looking at this on that Zoom call, I thought that we were going to just put the no parking so that it covered the stairs on that shady side? It was shady side, right?
Yeah, and that might be my wordsmithing. I was thinking to get beyond the garage, and so if I missed the driveway, I'm sorry, it wasn't in my notes to
No, I mean, I'm just
miss
thinking,
those.
is it easier just to move it back?
Well, I thought that, though, that eliminates some parking that people would want. So by adding this, you would eliminate parking in front of that stairway, which is really the reason why you would eliminate all that parking, is so nobody would park in front of that stairway. So if you add this language, if somebody's parked there, they could get a ticket for
Yeah, but to
parking in
me,
front of
as
the
a
stairway.
lawyer, that's extremely vague.
Well,
Can't, in essential, whatever, I mean, that's up to somebody's interpretation,
So
Yeah.
the other, maybe another alternative is to consider something like an additional 15 feet south for no parking on Shady Side, and that would cover
Yeah, that's what I-
what's identified as an essential stairway.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
fine. It just eliminates parking.
It would, as another alternative,
Yeah, but
it
if it's only
could
50, if
eliminate
it's
some
another 15
parking.
feet, you're talking 2 cars, whatever, 1 car?
With where the garage is, you'd have to make it, how many feet would you have to make it to include the stairs? I mean, I know you don't have it in front of you, but
I was trying to look at it on the
we discussed this in our meeting afterwards, so.
I really
I
think
thought it was
that
about 3
another.
spots that you
I
lose.
think that another 15 feet or so in front of what I understand is 3C on the west side of Shady Side. So you had a standard on Shady Side. If I can have a second to find that. Shady Side Avenue on the west side from roughly 310
Right,
feet
yep.
south of Route 9W. So if you go 325 feet, I think that performance standard could probably work, and I think you're still going to be able to fit 5 to 10. Don't hold me to that, because I'd have to scale it off. But you could probably get 5 or 6 or 7 cars on the west side of, is that the right side? The west side of Shady Side.
On page 1, you'll also just have to then adjust number 4.
That's right.
That's the
That's
one
what
I
I'm
saw.
speaking to. On 39.3, 5A4, I would adjust it, one alternative, if I'm presenting 2 alternatives for your consideration, one could be, change that to 325 feet.
At the end, and extending further south for 325 feet?
Oh, I see what you're saying. Good point.
25 feet from the no parking sign. If you're adding another 15 feet.
We took that language out and made it from 9W.
Oh, you did? Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, we're going to try this one more time. Shady Side Avenue on the west side from roughly 325, is that we're making that?
Yes, ma'am.
325 feet south of Route 9W and extending further south for 320 feet. That's what mine says. Does that make sense?
And if you take off the extra, if you make it 300, extending further south for 310 feet, 320 feet, I think it just, our analysis was that the need isn't as pressing the further south you go for a few parking spots on the west side, the further south you go towards the old town border. There's just more driveways existing now.
Right.
Okay.
Okay. Got it.
All right, you'll let me know as you hold your
Yes.
hearing or whatnot?
Yes.
If you need anything more.
Thank you. Okay, so we're going to open up the public portion now. I have the first person signed in is Patty Katz. And Patty, you're just going to see, we do have the clock over there, so you have 5 minutes. Oh, this is for this parking, yeah, this one, yeah.
Yes, good evening. Hello. I'm here to talk about Gessner Avenue, and I sent an email yesterday to you, Supervisor Kenny, and members of the board. I don't know if you had a chance to read that, so I don't want to take up all your time. If you did have a chance to read it, as well as several of my neighbors also submitted emails to you detailing what has been going on our street. So if you'd like me to go over that, I will.
Why don't you, for the record, it'd be good if you just kind of summarize it.
Okay, fine. The situation on our street regarding traffic has everything to do with the Gessner Avenue Park. That's what's driving the amount of traffic on our street. The park is just a pocket park. It consists of 2 benches with views of the Tappan Zee Bridge. And, this park was never meant to be a huge public park. It was meant to be a park that people walk to, a neighborhood park. But it has become a park that people drive to. People know about it, and they come to this park from all over, not just Orangetown. There's a lot of New Jersey plates there. It's on social media. People come from all over. So Gessner's a small street. It comes from South Broadway and dead ends at the Hudson. And, great views of the bridge, and, it's scenic. The bridge is lit up at night, and that draws a lot of people there. At any rate, people are coming to the park after hours, parking on the street after hours, leaving their trash on our lawns, using the street as a lover's lane, and having a general disregard that this is a residential neighborhood. So recent case in point, a Jeep parked outside in front of our home at 6 p.m. We're leaving our house at 6:30. You have to wait while this car is using our driveway to back out. I see a bunch of trash left behind, but figure I'll deal with it in the morning. And I'm sorry to have to be so graphic, but this will show you what we're dealing with. In the morning, I see what the trash is, and it's a pile of used tissues, 3 used condoms, and condom wrappers. And this isn't the first time that we've had to deal with this kind of trash. We, as well as the other homeowners on our street, we take a lot of pride in our property, and we're really just tired of people having a total disregard for our personal property. Other recent trash thrown in our yard includes used tampons, discarded garbage from fast food, liquor bottles thrown over our fence into our pool area. And we've also had numerous trespassers come onto our property, despite us putting up a fence between this park and the seawall that it abuts the river. And people just don't care. They just walk around the fence that we have there. And some have even been so brazen as to walk onto our dock, despite there being a gate there that clearly says no trespassing. On another occasion, I found several 20-somethings sitting in lawn chairs between parked cars on the street in front of my house. And when I asked them, hey, guys, what are you doing? They say, oh, we're just hanging out. And I just ask you, is this something that you'd want to see in front of your home? And as I said, parks that attract this much traffic should have parking lots attached to it. Another issue has been marijuana use, which is more prevalent in the warmer months. And I thank Eric Gordon for putting a no smoking regulation on this park. But, people don't pay attention to that. And, but we as homeowners shouldn't have to endure the stench of marijuana when we're trying to enjoy our outside area. And even though marijuana is now legal, the rights of our property owners should take precedent over those breaking the non-smoking law. And even though if those that are using marijuana get around the no smoking in the park rule by sitting in their cars and smoking, and nevertheless, we still smell it. And this is really a quality of life issue. And the rights of the homeowner should take precedent over those who drive impaired. So at any rate, sorry.
Thank you.
going too
We're
long.
going to have to move on. We
Yeah,
keep
I
to the
get
time.
it. So
We keep
you
to the
have
time.
the emails. If
I-
this is helpful for you to see what we're proposing, I'm happy to leave this with you.
Thank you. You want to see it?
I was gonna say,
I'm just going to, David, remind me, that's, for Gesner, we put that they can't park for the 300 feet.
Yeah, I'm confused with
Okay, we're going to let David come up and answer now.
Yeah.
This was supposed to deal with a shortage
We
of
would like
parking,
to see
not
no
every...
parking anytime. Or the
Yeah,
very
okay,
least,
thank you. We have your emails.
The concern was raised, especially, as I understood it, about the loitering activity on the easternmost end of the street, including especially at after hours, after sunset, including when the park isn't open. The street's fairly low volume, so the standard that was provided was for, we had a group discussion and moved the allowance for 2-hour parking back to 300 feet from the edge of the street. I should say, the eastern terminus of the street.
The water.
So the attempt was, since there's larger lots and frontage and probably fewer people on that eastern end of the street, maybe if we pulled the 2-hour parking farther back, closer to Piermont, where you're allowed to park for 2 hours, that could possibly address the problem. And, you know, when I was preparing for the meeting today, I did notice that what I neglected to do was put that 300 feet in a no parking zone. So essentially, if you want to also have the stronger regulation, you should, my recommendation would be to, within proposed subsection 39.5, where it has a prohibition on stopping, after Glen Byron Avenue, I would add something like Gessner Avenue, from the easternmost pavement edge extending for 300 feet west on both sides. And that would ensure that you understand that there's no parking for that first 300 feet from essentially the end of the cul-de-sac or by the water.
So what we did, just so basically, it's, you know, it's like benches on the Hudson River. That's what it is. Not really, it's like a big park or whatever. So the people are coming and parking and hanging out. So again, ironically, the purpose of this study was really to deal with shortage of parking. So to be taking parking spaces around, it was kind of not consistent with the purpose of this law was. But the goal was that if we pushed it back far enough, for no parking, 300 feet, you know, they'd have to park, and there's only 2-hour parking back there. It would help with enforcement. The police could enforce it, and it would be a little bit less, I mean, we also have to worry about the neighbors needing parking on their street. So we did a balance, you know, we did a balance of what can help with the situation, but not.
Right, and a lot of it was previously there from the Village of South Nyack. So this is, the existing conditions are what the Village of South Nyack approved, so you're
Right.
kind of restricting it more.
Oh, yeah, a lot more.
than what was
A
there
lot more,
before.
yeah. Okay.
Is there enough parking on that street for the people that are living there?
Oh, there's certainly, I think,
We did, we looked at the driveways and everything.
you know,
right?
in the old village grid, that street is pretty remote. I forget the name of that little stub. Is that the street with the stub extension that goes, as you're heading east towards the water, there's another street that goes off to your right?
No.
Okay, that's not. So, but.
No, it's like a
But the street is relatively wide. This is not one of the most constrained streets for driveways. It's actually I believe by Piermont Avenue, for example, in summer months, it might be a good auxiliary parking area up by Piermont Ave, because I think there's enough width on the street.
Okay, so we have a park at the end of the street that has 2 benches in it, and how much parking are we allotting for people that are going to a park and can't park their car up further and walk down 300 feet?
Right.
Or
So during daylight hours, when the park is open, you should be able to park within 300 feet. There's not a lot of driveways, especially on the eastern side of the street. So you can't park from 300 to 0 feet. So say around 500 feet from that park, 450 feet from that park, I think you'll be able to find a parking space on the street and go enjoy the vista of the bridge.
Okay.
Okay.
It's a beautiful location, and now I know about it.
Yeah, I'm sure it is, but how many people could be down there at a time, and how many cars do we need to put there?
That makes no sense,
You're
though.
looking
We have a
at,
park, but we can't park.
what's that?
Because it's really, it's
With-
2
Within,
benches.
within about 300 feet, that was the idea, because the pavement's really rough and edgy, and
Let's just shut the
it's a
park down.
funny frontage down there.
You should down to the Hudson River.
The question was like, how, can people find parking down there? How many people are at the park? It is a tiny vest pocket park. I would suspect that there's striper fishermen there in season. There's people enjoying the vista. I can't imagine more than 5 people at that park, 8 people on a wicked nice day at that park at the same time. There's benches, there's nice terraces, stuff like that.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Okay, so the next person signed up, but they put Rockland Cider Works. So I'm going to move, it's Jack Torpy. I'm going to move you over to the other sheet. No, sir, but you can't talk about Cider Works if that's what you're coming up for. This is just the parking.
Can't discuss that?
No,
This
You
is
can
just
at the
South
public.
Nyack.
in the public portion you can, but not in this.
So we're going to move you over to the right sheet.
I'm going to move you over to the right sheet. The next then is Andrew Goodwillie.
Hello. Andrew Goodwillie, former trustee of the Village of South Nyack here. I want to make a few comments on the parking study of the former village that was done by LaBerge Consultancy. Overall, I'm very impressed by the proposals that have been put in the study and by the draft law. I like the idea, well, I should say that there's no ideal solution for this, because the parts of the village where the overnight parking is an issue is very dense, and there's not driveways for some of the houses, there's small driveways for others. But I do like the idea of using 4 sections of roadway as places for overnight parking. I think it's strikes a good balance, the word that Teresa just used, for what we faced in the village. I also think it's a sensible idea to make Brookside one way, that section of Brookside west of South Franklin. The report correctly identifies the low usage of the community parking lot on Brookside as being due to the lack of enforcement since the village dissolved, and I think that once enforcement kicks back in, then more cars will go in there.
We
The
will
report-
warn. We will warn ahead of time before we start enforcing.
Right. The report discusses Shady Side, which peels off from 9W and goes up the hillside. And this is now a really dangerous road. I don't know if you've been over there frequently, but since the new interchange opened with the on-ramp to the thruway, motorists use that as a shortcut to get to the thruway. And it's not in the local law that's proposed, but I hope that the Traffic Advisory Board is looking at traffic calming measures for there. So there are a couple of things in the report and the proposed local law that I think should be addressed before they're adopted by the town board. In 2 places in the report, the population of Nyack is used for calculations instead of the population of South Nyack. And the reason that makes a difference is the population of Nyack is 3 times the population of South Nyack. So that messes up the numbers. So I think it'd be sensible to have those 2 sections of the report corrected with the actual populations of the hamlet. In the proposed local law, I came across 10 places where road names are inconsistent, or directions are wrong, or where one item in a list contradicts another item in another list in the proposed local law. And for example, in one section, parking is prohibited on South Franklin Street, but in another section, 2-hour parking is allowed on parts of South Franklin Street. So that's a contradiction that has to be resolved. And I have all of this in a list, and I can email the list to Alison to make it easy to correct it. Let's see. Okay, so I think that the population calculation should be corrected because that feeds into the traffic volumes that are estimated and the estimated amount of overnight parking, and that the draft local law errors should be fixed as well. I appreciate that one of the sidebars in the report talks about the philosophy of on-street parking, and it can be an inefficient and undesirable use of publicly owned space. And I live on White Avenue, and cars parked there overnight and for days on end, and that makes it a really messy when the town comes through trying to snowplow, pick up leaves, pick up yard waste, and so on. So I think that these proposed sections of the local law will help remediate that. And lastly, I have a question, and it might just be my reading of the town code, but on page 45, the report talks about the use of street trees. And as you probably know, the former village of South Nyack prided itself on street trees and how it enhanced the appeal and the visual attractiveness of the former village. And I noticed in town code, the Orangetown Town Code, chapter 35, that the town board recognizes the benefit of street trees, and the Shade Tree Commission was set up to promote this. But I've heard, and it could be wrong, that the Highway Department and the Shade Tree Commission does not promote street trees. So at some point, maybe one-on-one, I'd just like some clarity on that. So overall, I think that the report was very helpful. We tried to do one when we were a village, and it was a waste of time.
It wasn't easy, I can imagine.
Well, they just gave back the numbers we gave to them. And I think that the draft local law is really useful and with the fixes in place. Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank
Andrew. Next, we have S.K. Bailey.
Good evening. I appear tonight to bring to your attention several serious shortcomings in this most recent draft of proposed parking legislation for South Nyack. I want to talk about a condition which exists on 2 of the roads in the mountainside area defined in this study as that area west of 9W. At the previous public hearing regarding parking in South Nyack, Roger Seiler brought to your attention a problem specific to parking on some of the mountainside roads. The original study done by the consultant purported that there were only 12 or 14 residences on the entire mountainside that did not have off-street parking. As Roger pointed out, this was profoundly incorrect. There are substantial numbers of residences on Shadyside Avenue, Terrace Drive, and South Boulevard where off-street parking is accomplished by parking off the paved portion of the roads on the shoulder or right-of-way of the road, which is technically actually part of the road. As an aside here, this situation exists not only in the geographical confines of the former village of South Nyack, it also extends into Upper Grand View on both Shadyside Avenue and South Boulevard. Roger suggested at the previous public hearing that this needed to be addressed in the law. Apparently, this draft legislation does address the issue for Shadyside and a small portion of Terrace Drive. However, it remains unresolved through most of Terrace Drive and all of South Boulevard. As a historical background, South Boulevard did not exist as a public road until the late 1930s. When it was originally macadamized, it was a very narrow one-lane road, and it wasn't expanded to its present width until the late 40s or maybe early 50s. Consequently, prior to that time, many of the residences were constructed on the eastern or downhill side of South Boulevard, and they were located on lots which, due to steepness, did not provide for the possibility of a driveway leading down to the dwelling. The result was that when the road was widened in order to keep parking on the shoulder of the road, many of these residences informally filled in areas along the shoulder in order to continue accessing their properties. As a technical legal matter, the shoulder, also known as the right-of-way, is part of the road. If parking is simply prohibited on South Boulevard or Terrace Drive, those residences are essentially parking illegally. A note here. My husband and I made a cursory survey of the number of parking spaces used for off-street parking, in whole or in part, on the unpaved shoulder of South Boulevard, and recorded more than 30 locations where this was taking place. This is substantial on a road which only has a length of about a half a mile within the confines of the former village. While I am sure this particular board would make some kind of informal arrangement to limit enforcement of these sort of off-pavement accommodations, there's no guarantee that this would remain the case in future years. This ambiguity could have a substantial impact on property values, perhaps as much as $100,000 to $200,000. Because there was no public inclusion in this process, residents who are aware of this proposed legislation are extremely concerned. Accordingly, I recommend that in provisions related to prohibiting parking on South Boulevard and Terrace Drive, Section 4, number 30 on Terrace Drive, Section 5, number 7 for South Boulevard, there be language to the effect of, nothing in this provision shall prohibit parking on the unpaved shoulder of the road. If that could be included in those prohibitions, that might allow us to continue doing what has been done on South Boulevard. I would also like to briefly mention two other issues with South Boulevard and Terrace Drive. First, on South Boulevard. As the original study indicated, the South Highland South Boulevard corridor has become the most heavily traveled street within the confines of the former village by a substantial margin. Residents are gravely concerned about the speed with which the traffic is traveling and believe the speed limit should be lowered to 25 miles per hour and strictly enforced. Second, on Terrace Drive. Substantial numbers of Amazon vans are using the 9W to Lowland to Terrace to South Highland route as a shortcut to access their warehouse off 303. These concerns were expressed at the previous public hearing. This could be prevented by a ban on commercial through traffic, which has not been included in this update. Roger Seiler, who was here at that public hearing but can't be here tonight, along with other residents of the area, are extremely concerned about this problem. As you are aware, Terrace Drive is narrow, steep, a residential street, and when these vans return from their daily trips en masse near closing time, there's convoys of 20 to 30 vans at a time in close succession, and it creates a traffic hazard. You can't go down that street and pass a car without pulling off to the side, let alone an Amazon van.
Okay,
so
I'm
I
gonna
trust
have-
that you will take time to go over this and not vote on this tonight, that we can get some corrections made.
Okay.
Thank you for
That's
your-
everybody who signed up, but is there anybody else here who would like to speak again?
I
Just
sent
on
an
the
email
traffic
to everybody and to the
On the
town
traffic
clerk as
study.
well.
On the traffic study, yeah.
There's two, so.
Okay, this gentleman here first, yeah, okay.
And then her.
And if you just say your name for the record, that'd be great.
Good evening. My name is Jerry Ilowite. I live at 3C Shadyside Avenue in South Nyack. And I did speak at the last public hearing, and mostly I wanted to say thank you for considering the comments that we made last time and incorporating many of the changes. I am speaking in favor of this ordinance at this time. There was one provision that I had asked for last time that did not get incorporated, and I believe that was what the gentleman was speaking to you about before. When the way the code is proposed now, it's showing by feet from an intersection, but no map was provided, so it's difficult for us to comment on this without knowing exactly what the extent of this no parking is and then the parking allowance section. So when I asked for this idea about prohibiting parking in front of a staircase, I was thinking of that as something separate, and I would caution about trying to incorporate that now in the parking situation that we're trying to deal with. All I would really ask is for you to consider, to look at this again and perhaps consider it at a future time in another amendment. Because I'm really talking about just trying to prohibit a very small section. So you spoke about specifically my house, which was 3C, but I should make you aware that my neighbor has exactly the same problem at 3D. So trying to deal with this with just changing the actual extent of the no parking area would probably be problematic on that.
Okay, thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you. Somebody else wanted to speak? Yeah.
Hi, Kathy Tappenden from Brookside Avenue in South Nyack. About the parking study, thank you very much. It was a wonderful study. It's got a lot of good ideas in it and a lot of things that we as neighbors have been considering. One thing that has occurred to me, one of the suggestions was doing alternate side of the street parking, mainly to identify and to stop people from abandoning cars. I've lived there for about 40 years, and it's never been an issue, but I just noticed that there's a car across the street from my house. It's been there for at least 6 weeks, maybe 2 months, hasn't moved, New Jersey plates. Is it abandoned? I don't know. Yeah, it can happen, and the alternate side of the street parking, I think, might help. Getting use of the lot back would be great. I think so many residents can take advantage of it, and I think that's a great idea. And lastly, I would like to suggest again that you consider changing the boundary lines between the DPW and the parking lot, separating the two properties so that in the future, should the DPW ever go for sale again, the parking lot does not become an issue, and the parking won't become an issue again. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anybody else who would like to speak on the parking study? Okay, I don't see any hands. Okay. I just want to make a couple comments. So, thank you. That's why we have public hearings. There's one comment made that there was no inclusion of the public. This is at least our second public hearing. We've had presentations. We've accepted emails. I think it's not fair to say there has been no public inclusion. We don't expect this to be the end-all and be-all of the parking issues in South Nyack. The village had it for 144 years and couldn't figure it out. We're good, but I don't know that we're that good. So this is going to be an ongoing process. Certain things, once we approve this, may still come back through the Traffic Advisory Board to handle maybe, select problems that come up. So it may be something that is an ongoing, we will revisit things. We're doing our best. Again, we engaged in this because there's a lack of parking in the village, and we were getting lots of complaints, and you had this whole thing where you call in the police department overnight, and then you gave tickets, and that's just not sustainable for the Orangetown Police Department as a bigger town police department. So I think we are making great progress. It does sound like we may have some other tweaks, and we'll listen to Dave, and, if he has, but it sounds like we have a couple other things. You may just want to finish it and maybe continue it, but I will let anybody else. Dave, you have any final thoughts for us before we? No? You're tired of it too. No, I think I got a lot of the comments written down here. Yeah, how much time do you think we need to? What do you think?
Yeah, well, the next meeting's in 2 weeks, so I don't think that's
No.
realistic. So.
And then we're looking.
Yeah, the 23rd, I guess, would make sense.
Could be a fun night, yeah. Okay. Okay.
If you don't want to adopt tonight.
It's going to be a good night. Okay. So then can I get a motion to continue the public hearing until January 23rd, 2024?
Motion. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, very good. Thank you, everybody, for your patience on that. We're going to open the public comment portion now.
Motion to open the public comment.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, again, there's a clock over here. Just please try to stick to the timer because it's going to be a long night and it's 3 minutes. So the first person that signed up is Corey Clarkston.
Hi, good evening. I'm Corey Clarkston. I'm one of the fire commissioners in the Pearl River Fire District. I'm concerned about two maps that I have in front of me. One is a site plan from about 1993, and it shows the fire access, the fire lane that goes through the property of the Van Houten Fields, goes back to the stables. I have a current one that shows it only goes halfway back. So what I have a question on is, has the fire inspector seen the proposal? I have not seen the proposal, but has the fire inspector seen the proposal? And I know the fire chief in Pearl River has not. So I would hope that the town board would have the fire inspector and the fire chief take a look at this proposal to ensure that we have access to that property all the way back to the stables like we used to have. We've had emergencies back there before, and we've had to bring our equipment back in there. And if this is true, that we're only going to have half the access halfway through, that could be problematic. Okay, so I would ask the board to have the fire inspector and the fire chief take a look at the proposal and weigh in with their comments. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
So that goes before the planning board. right?
Yeah, exactly. Sean O'Sullivan?
Yeah.
No? Sean, there's just O'Sullivan, right?
Sean
O'Sullivan?
Yep.
Okay. Susan O'Sullivan? Okay, they left. Susan McGuinty?
We're going to switch spots.
Oh, okay.
Good evening. My name is Sharon Van Houten, and I have to be honest, I wrote this whole long speech, and I'm going to just go off track here because so many things have come up since I wrote the speech this morning. I just want to say, first of all, that Chris and myself and my family have been the face of Van Houten Farms for over 40 years. We have worked at this farm as a family, in our family business, every single day for over 40 years, including my children. If they needed money to go to the movies or play or go out with their friends or go out to lunch or whatever, I always said, you got to go to Daddy and go work at the farm because that's where you're going to make your money so you can go play. And they went there. They were hard workers. They grew up as hard workers. We trained them as hard workers. I'm so proud of them. I came across a Facebook post on Pearl River Parents at Play, which was dated December 8th, 2014, asking if anyone has ever bought a Christmas tree at Van Houten Farm and their thoughts. I'd like to just read a few of the many comments from there. The first comment, just purchased our tree over the weekend. Great family and longtime Pearl River residents. Love Van Houtens. We buy our tree there every year. Love Van Houtens. They had an awesome selection this year. We are loving ours. What a wonderful family. We love Van Houtens. We will continue to go back. They are very supportive to the community. Those are just a few. If you remember the date I just told you, it was 2014, December 8th, 2014. That was our family. That was our family they're talking about. We were the face of the farm during that time period. We were the ones that had connections with all of our customers. We treated them like family. They knew us like family. They knew when we got engaged, knew when we got married, having our first, second, and finally our third child, celebrating with us when there was good news, sympathizing with us when there was bad news. It's always been Chris, my children, and I as the face of Van Houten Farms. Roughly 6 years ago, our family was blindsided, and we came into a conflict with Jim Van Houten. We were sadly pushed out of the family and the business and kicked out of our home, almost kicked out of our home. We had to stand up and fight for what was ours and protect our family and our children. This has been an ongoing litigation for the last 6 years. It's been a personal thing between my husband, myself, and my family. And but we have to keep fighting really quick. On Monday, Labor Day, we were again served and told we had 10 days to get out of our house, again by Jim Van Houten. This is what brought on everything
Sharon, I'm
that's
going to
going
have to
on
cut you
tonight.
off, and I don't want to, but it's just, otherwise I have to make exceptions for everybody, so.
Well, you made exceptions already for
I
other people.
I let you go beyond the time. I will be here. Susan McWhinney?
Thank you. I'd like to read a quote from a email that I got tonight, and that said, due to an 11th hour slimy move by the attorneys representing the neighbors who are fighting to shut down Van Houten Farms. We're usually the ones who are referred to as the neighbors, myself and my husband. I'd like to read another quote from a Van Houten Farms emailer that was put out on Monday. One neighbor who apparently prefers seeing our farm in decline has waged a personal vendetta to get us shut down. He has used lies, baseless defamatory allegations, gross speculations and exaggerations, fear-mongering and conspiracy theories in his fanatical attempt to build opposition against our farm. The above language is part of the ongoing bullying that those who do not want a dissimilar zoning use that has caused the loss of property values, increased traffic, and pedestrian hazards on our roads, and frankly created chaos in our neighbor, have been subjected to. To state that it is just one neighbor who has called out their behavior is to ignore the many Orangetown residents who continue to voice their concerns. We have not seen a single example of a lie that we have told. We have repeatedly stated that we are not asking to shut down Van Houten Farms, and it was not our lawyers who asked for tonight's TRO. This type of language has been adopted by supporters of RCW and postings that RCW has allowed to remain on their site. We have been flipped off and yelled at publicly. I was screamed at the top of his voice publicly by a man who told me that I had never had anyone on my property causing me trouble related to the cidery. The rhetoric has become overheated, leading to a denial of the impact of this cidery on our neighborhood. It is simply a fact that the problems, such as traffic, noise, parking, trespassing, and so on, cannot be addressed if they are not acknowledged. Attacking those who try to address these issues does not make them go away. An open-air bar in a residential neighborhood is not an appropriate use. Those of us who have had to live with it have attested to this repeatedly. The operators of a business that was opened illegally and who have actively fostered an environment of bullying and name-calling should not be given the gift of having a local law changed for their benefit. No one, not myself, not my husband, not any of the people who we speak with regularly, are trying to close down Van Houten Farms. We are trying to prevent the ongoing activities of a cidery, which unfortunately is not a good fit for our neighborhood. Thank you for your time, and thank you for the board for dealing with this difficult issue.
Oh, yeah, somebody, okay, I just see that there was somebody who signed up here for the parking. I hope they.
Which one?
Kevin Phillips, was he on the other one? Oh, I guess he, okay.
Is Kevin Phillips?
Kevin Phillips, are you still here? No, I guess he, okay.
All right, sorry, Kevin.
Well, we gave him one chance. Okay, Chris Van Houten.
Good evening, everybody. Well, my wife said it pretty well. We've been a stand here in this community, like I said, my wife said it right, for years. I was very proud to serve with Van Houten Farms, my community, serving the Pearl River Fire Department. I was always a part of the community. And, you know, it was all about the neighbors were always wonderful. I was wonderful to them. Just what's been going on with the cidery is just not fit for this community. As a kid, as a child, I grew up in this community. Love the community, still love the community. But this mess that is going on, it's just not right for a small hamlet that we're in. There's just no reason for what's happening right now, and us and the neighbors are really putting our foot down. And you as board members, we're trying to convince you to see this. This is for, good people, well living. Orangetown is one of the best places to live in New York State. In the United States, it's a fantastic community. We want to keep it that way, and we have rights. All of us, all the neighbors have rights to keep this community what it used to be. So we're all asking you, you have to make a right decision. Legally, my wife and I had to make some moves that we had to do tonight, and nothing against anybody or the board or anything like that, but this is what we have to do. We have rights. The neighbors have rights, and that's why we're all here. Thank you for your time.
Sheehan Haley from South Nyack?
Sheehan
Haley, right?
Yep.
Oh, there you go.
Hi, I'm Sheehan Haley. I live in South Nyack. So the cidery, to use some of the language that's already been used, is a poor fit for this neighborhood. It's a residential neighborhood, and the operation of a cidery with alcohol sales and consumption, live music, and the accompanying revelry, some of it perfectly lovely and fine, but potential for out-of-hand revelry is there. These things ultimately infringe upon the neighbors' rights to enjoy their properties and to feel and ultimately be safe on these properties. So, in general, I feel it's a poor fit. But in addition, I have procedural concerns about changing the zoning. If this particular request is allowed to move forward, it creates the incentive for additional special interests to make additional requests for permit requests, exempting themselves from existing zoning rules. And this would undermine the town's ongoing historical planning efforts, resource allocation, be that financial and otherwise, as well as community confidence. So zoning is intended to protect the health and safety and property values of communities by separating potentially incompatible uses. That is its purpose. And the cidery in this neighborhood is, in my view, an incompatible use, as it will undoubtedly have profound impacts on the existing residents, with increased traffic density, both vehicle and pedestrian, air pollution, water pollution, sewage infrastructure, even if that is multiple porta potties, noise and light disturbances, and threats to personal and property safety. So it is precisely because of these concerns that we need to balance the rights of individuals to expand their businesses against the rights of the community. That is the point of zoning. So on the whole, this is a poor fit. And just to recap what I've brought up before as a South Nyack resident, why do I care? I'm a constituent of this town, and if there's inherent fragility in these rules, they have the potential to impact my property, my family, and so I would like to work to uphold zoning laws for the maintenance of our safety. Thank you.
Thank you. Jim Zidema, sorry. Was I close?
Pretty close.
Okay.
Hi, my name is Jim Zidema. I am from Pearl River, and I'm addressing the cidery issue. I'm just going to read a letter which I sent to all the members of the town board on November 21st. Dear board members, my wife and I, are writing this letter in support of the proposed zoning text amendment for the Van Houten Farm and the Rockland Cidery Works. We live in Pearl River, about 1.5 miles from the Van Houten Farms, and have been regular customers for many years under both regimes, by the way. I'm not getting involved in the family rivalry at all. We strongly support Van Houten's Farm's desire to develop its business and at its current location, including the Rockland Cider Works. In our view, Van Houten Farms is well managed and adds tremendous value to the community. We greatly enjoy the products, friendly service, beautiful farm atmosphere. The Cider Works, when it was open, offered an enjoyable, family-friendly venue to relax, socialize, and meet fellow members of the local community, especially during the fall and winter months when such activities are few and far between. Van Houten Farms is a great example of the kind of business that makes living in Orangetown more enjoyable while helping to build a thriving local economy, all of which supports home values and the local tax base. We understand fully that there have been a few apprehensions, especially among neighbors on adjacent properties, about how the development of Van Houten Farms may impact the local neighborhood. This is very understandable. However, for the good of the entire community, we hope and expect that concerted and good faith efforts can be made to find solutions that allow the business to continue to develop while mitigating the concerns in a measured and reasonable manner. We believe that our community needs more businesses like Van Houten's, not less, and we are concerned that if it is not allowed to develop, including finding ways to generate income during the off-season gardening months, we may unnecessarily lose one of the real treasures and mainstays of our community. Therefore, we strongly support the zoning tax amendment and hope that the town board will provide the much-needed support to allow Van Houten's to continue to develop and enrich our community. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Carolyn Rash?
Ms. Rash?
Carolyn? I saw her back there.
Good evening, Teresa Kenny and the board. My name is Carolyn Rash. I'm a resident of 40 Sickletown Road in Pearl River. My husband, you have to make it lower, yeah. My husband and I have moved from New York City over 30 years ago to Pearl River. We were looking for a community that was quiet and peaceful, where we could stay outside and enjoy the suburban life. Over the years, our house and our property have required renovations, additions, and reconstruction in compliance with the regulation and rules that we have applied for permits. Had our permits been denied, we would not request a change in the law or change in the zoning regulations, as the Sideworks have done. We have always enjoyed the Van Houten property as our neighbors and frequently purchase gardening equipment, vegetables, fruits, corn, as well as trees to plant at our home. Excuse me. In our 30 years living on our property, we never had an argument or a dispute on how their properties were maintained. Approximately 4 years ago, without notice and without input, the Rockland Cideworks established a new business on their property. Well, not on their property, on Rockland, on the farm, which it's not really a farm, it's a farm stand. Anyway, they opened Rockland Cideworks without permits, and then they went to court after they were denied the permits, and they wanted to get the permits afterwards, which they were denied. And by their own admission, Rockland Cideworks continued to have concerts and events starting in 2019 to 2022, despite the fact that they have been found in violation of zoning ordinances and the fire department permitting requirements. They were issued fire code violations which forced them to stop using their firehouses, which were deemed a fire hazard. They were finally closed in 2023 after a lawsuit forced them to stop violating local law. Now, rather than comply with zoning regulations, they seek to change change the law. Does this seem fair? What if the owners of Evergreen Court for adults asked Spring Valley to change the fire code after the building burnt down? Now the board wishes to reward this behavior by changing the zoning regulations to permit these illegal activities. Not to mention the changes in zoning regulations may have effect on the properties within the town. I am not only concerned about the reward of bad behavior, I am also concerned about how this will change the character of the community at large. I have sat through multiple board meetings over the past 2 years. Okay, thank you, board, for listening to me, and and thank you for trying not to change our neighborhood.
Okay, the
Thank
next
you.
one I have is Andrea Lamontia. Andrea from New City.
Good evening. I'm Andrea Lamantia, and I live in New City. I'm visiting your town tonight. I'm a member of the Historical Society of Rockland, the Heritage of West Nyack, the Friends of Harmony Hall, and I should be here speaking to you about supporting Rockland Cider Works because their financial interest in the cider works would help preserve the farm. But I'm here tonight as a concerned Rockland resident to express how my quality of life has changed as a Clarkstown resident because of the development, the land development that's happened to farms and camps and areas, large land places that cannot be sustained, so they're being sold off to large development. Pardon me for my voice, it's not good tonight. I live off of exit 10 of the Palisades Parkway for 42 years, and I can't get out of my driveway anymore at certain times of the day. Route 304 has become a parking lot at certain times of the day. Wasn't always like that. Shimp's Farm, which is right down the road from me, which was much like a Van Houten to you people because I was there all the time buying my necessary things for the garden and produce. Since 2014, concerned neighbors were expressing their desires to not have that overdeveloped. And their 8.2 acres is now being developed into 7 3-story buildings on the corner of Jamans Road, where it bends off of Parrot Road. That is, really overdevelopment. It's crazy. I don't know how I'm ever going to get out of my driveway again. Just recently, I think in the last 2 weeks, it's been announced that a camp off of West Clarkstown Road has 7.2 acres sold for $4 million. It's a lot of money. These land developers are very wealthy, very, very patient people, and they will wait years and years and years. Patrick Farm in Ramapo is a perfect example of waiting years to get zoning changes. The Van Houtens can walk away millionaires if they sell this to land developers in both of these areas are zoned residential or were zoned residential, and the land developers just plodded along until their patience they had more patience than the town board and maybe more money because they didn't want to go through lawsuits or whatever was the case. But the Van Houtens can walk away millionaires. And when the townspeople are waiting off of exit 6 and waiting off, and just one more second, you're going to be waiting off of your tunnel, 1.5 miles to get through your tunnel.
Thank you.
I just remember my face that I warned you. Thank you for your
Joyce Taub.
time.
Location, location, location. Joyce Taub. Location, location, location. A single word, often repeated 3 times for emphasis by realtors worldwide. Location, Rockland Cider Works simply doesn't have it, and it's not our collective fault nor our problem to fix it. I've spoken often of the location problems of having RCW in a residential neighborhood. You have heard me, along with my fellow neighbors, voicing our legitimate objections to RCW, including both the disturbance to our peace as well as the dangers to pedestrians and vehicles in the neighborhood when the cidery venue is in use. But although we've spoken, I feel our words have been disregarded. You sit here prepared to change the zoning laws of the town of Orangetown, affecting almost 50,000 people who call this town home and support it, for one business that proved itself successful without the cidery all these years and likely could remain so with creative business acumen. With zoning changes, venues such as RCW can pop up in other locations, perhaps without acquiring business, electrical, construction, fire, and who knows what permits, as we've witnessed. Imagine the food trucks, liquor, and bands which just might show up next to or down the block or in earshot of your backyards. For what do we need this? An additional scenario is that you change the laws affecting all Orangetown residents, and the Van Houten property shrinks from ongoing litigation, and they can't even comply with the new law. And there's yet another point to be made. The Van Houten property has had a sign up saying, "Save the farm." Make no mistake, this is not a farm. The family long ago stopped whatever farming made it compliant with our zoning, but we embraced and supported it as a garden center selling produce. The complaint here has nothing to do with the so-called farm. Don't think for one moment that you're saving the farm. If you change the zoning law to allow the entertainment center and bar to resume sales, you're opening a can of worms for all your constituency whom you were elected to protect. This is a quality of life threat to peace and quiet loving homeowners, plain and simple. The public can come and go, the neighbors cannot. Remember Supervisor Kenny's, "We have zoning laws, we have zoning laws." This is not a humanitarian issue, and an appropriate response ought to be fury at RCW's defiance, not a zoning change reward. Yes, board members, we have zoning laws, or we did. Thank you for hearing me. I implore you to listen.
Ellen Wiedenmeyer? She left? Oh, did Sean leave too? Okay. Linda Kolodner?
Good evening. Hi, my name is Linda Kolodner. I live on Orangeburg Road in Hafford 26 years, in a home that has been in our family for 61 years. I stand here before you to implore you, I can't read and look up, to vote against a change that would allow RCW to operate in a residential neighborhood. Others have said without the cidery, the nursery / Van Houten farm stand would go under and would possibly sell to the highest bidder. I'm not opposed to Van Houten Farms, but I, however, feel it is not our responsibility as a community to keep a family-owned business afloat if they are struggling. Many family businesses have had to close because of tough times. There is unfortunately a reason farm stands, nurseries don't thrive in the way they used to. Many stores have closed, aside from that, farms places not staying open, that's for different reasons, but many stores have closed due to online shopping. So this is nothing new. This is new today, unfortunately. If they were to close, we would still be able to purchase produce and plants from other stores. The only people that would personally be affected by a possible closing of both RCW and this farm stand / nursery would be the owners and their employees. Unfortunate, yes, but many people lose jobs. And perhaps if they had to sell, it would be sold to someone who could afford to expand the stables and offer more services to residents, or part of it subdivided and sold to build a few homes, which the town would benefit from the taxes of those homes. If you change the zone, then like this young lady from New City said, a bigwig could come in and develop it for different reasons. In my opinion, the loss of revenue to Van Houten Farms by the permanent shutdown of RCW should not be factored in at all when making a serious decision to change a zoning law. Has a zoning law ever been changed for one family business? I don't think so. I could be wrong, but I don't think so. When you as a board vote on this matter to change the zoning law, please look back on the many 3 minutes of comment from all involved on both sides of this. There is a lot of comment to go through, but it is very important to review it all. Please consider the neighbors that have fought extremely hard to stop this. They did not fight to be annoying. They fought with honesty, integrity, and of pure hearts. I cannot say the same for the owners of the cidery. This is based on what I have heard at each of the meetings, whether in person or online post said meetings. I ask you as a member of this community to do what is right and just and review all of the facts before you vote at a public hearing in regard to this matter. If you indeed do review all of the facts, I know in my heart it will be a 4-1, possibly
Thank you.
a 3-2 vote. Opposing it.
I don't know if it's McGilligan? Is it Fiona? Is it Fiona McGilligan? McEnigot? From Blauvelt?
McGallagher.
Fian? No?
Fian.
Fian's gone?
Frank.
Okay. Frank DeVita? From Valley Cottage? John Caruso?
Palisades.
Oh, there was no hearing. Yep.
Thank you.
Wait, I'm sorry, this is not about the site of works?
Neighbors Lake Trust.
Oh, this, I'm sorry, I'm confusing, I'm all confused now, I've confused myself. Okay. I was like, what is this? The signs. Okay.
Good evening, Danielle Federico, and
Johnny Caruso.
instead of wasting the board's time, we figured we'd just come up again together. We were last here October 24th of this year because of concerns in our neighborhood at 7 Century Road, 8 Century Road, and 5 Century Road with the sign and lighting. And at the October 24th meeting, our concern was that our neighbor was going to install another sign at 5 Century Road, and about 2 weeks later, they did. And we're supplementing our submission last time today with some additional photos and the new sign. I have the old signs. The only old pictures are the two in the back that show 7 and 8. These photos were all taken, with the exception of the last two, were all taken today by Johnny. And I just want to remind the board that we are in the R40 zone. It's a residential zone. As one of the other members of the public said, we have zoning laws for a reason. And you have zoning laws in place that I believe can be enforced in this area that could protect us, and I don't know why they're not. In the R40 zone, there's a limit on residential signs to 2 square feet. These signs, which correspond with the property addresses, 5 Century Road, 7 Century Road, 8 Century Road, are not sculptures like the building department seems to be stating. And also, we also looked up the town code with respect to lighting. And in section 4.27 of the town code, it says, the exterior lighting of any lot in every zone shall be accomplished so that there are no direct rays therefrom are visible elsewhere other than on the lot where such illumination occurs. And as I stated at the October 24th meeting, I'm about 300 feet from the closest property. Johnny's the direct neighbor. And as you can see in these photos, the light is more than excessive. And I know one of the board members asked last time, did anyone approach the neighbor? I know our resident at 6 Century did and asked them to lower the lights initially when he initially came into our neighborhood. He did, and then all these lights came back in. And then since the last meeting, Johnny went there.
I
And
went there to talk to him because he installed lights on my fence as well. And he was aggressive and threatened me. It's a very, very nice neighborhood. Nobody's angry in the neighborhood. We're just used to it being very, very quiet and unlit. And now it's lit like a Target parking lot. There's these numbers that are like gigantic, where like it would tell somebody where to park. There's also major construction in the 3 properties that he owns there, and he also offered everybody on the street to buy their property. So we don't know what's going on there. So I don't know if he was doing Airbnb or if it's, anyway, those are the pictures that we showed you. He installed 3 more chandeliers the size of these on the board over my property.
And the
now-
lights, there were,
now-
the 3 lights were installed today, and that's why we decided to come today.
Yeah, okay.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for your time.
On his fence, there were lights installed, but then there's also pole lights, that the 3 pole lights, additional
And the
pole lights were
lights
installed
go
today.
into my property. It's not that they're facing his house. It's lighting up all of my trees. It's lighting up one
So-
whole side of my property.
But the lights are on your fence?
The lights are, no, there's these chandeliers that are the size of this on a pole. That's exaggeration. They're half the size of that on a pole, and then he added other lights on my fence, on his side of the fence.
So he's lighting up the fence, not, the lights are not on the fence.
No, the lights
No.
are
Yeah,
on the fence.
He's saying on the fence.
And pole lights.
But then the
Look
pole
like-
lights are all throughout, all 3 of
throughout
his
the
property,
properties.
and the light comes
Okay, we're gonna
Now
past.
there's 3 pole lights with 3 lights on it, glaring into my property on every side. It lights up my entire backyard and the whole side of my property now.
Okay.
Okay?
Yeah, we've had
Thank you for your
discussions.
time.
There's ongoing discussions on our end, there's ongoing discussions on our end with the building inspector and with the town attorney.
Great,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Jack Torpy.
Good evening, Supervisor Kenny, board members. Excuse me. My name is Jack Torpy, and I live at 79 Sickletown Road, about 150 yards north of Van Houten's farm. I've been there for 52 years. And in most of that time, there were never any issues with the Van Houten farm. I mean, my kids grew up there, going back and forth to the farm, and there was never an issue until 2019. It happened, I was unaware that things were starting to change, but all of a sudden there was a sign put up that there was going to be music in the garden. A week or 2 later, there was crowds of people at the property. Alcohol was being served, loud music, multicolored food trucks. Traffic was all over, parking. They were parking up and down the road on a double yellow line. Now, you know, this area, as I said, I've been there a while. This area certainly was not zoned for that type of business. The farm's been there. It's really a farm stand. I don't ever remember stuff being grown there. They had some animals there at one time. They had some horses in the paddock. So, I mean, I am adamantly opposed to a change in this zone. It's going to change. I mean, there's people that I know down there, older people like myself. We've been there a long time, and there's a lot of good sense of community there. And we feel like it's going to be encroached upon if this zoning law is changed. Now, you know, to change a zoning law like a R40 to appease one single small business at the expense of a whole community of people who are maybe new to the community, maybe have been there as long as me, probably not as long as me, but anyway, I would hope that the board takes a serious look at this. I wouldn't like to see our property values be affected. And also, like, it wasn't the last summer, but the last time they had venues, I mean, Sunday afternoon and Saturday afternoon, I can see Van Houten's farm very clearly from my front porch. I mean, it was loud music, a lot of people around, cars blowing their horns. I mean, we're not used to that. So I would encourage you or ask you to please take a serious look at that and understand the effect that you're going to have on a lot of folks like me. Thanks.
That's the last person that signed up. Is there anybody else here who wants to speak that did not sign up? Just raise your hand. Okay.
Good evening, everyone. First, I'd like to say...
I'm sorry, just your name for the record.
Oh, I'm sorry. My name is Mike Kolodner. I live on Orangeburg Road in Pearl River. I'd like to say that I found it very admirable and responsible that this town board upheld the laws of the town of Orangetown and the best interests of the community regarding the issues surrounding Van Houten Farms and the cider works over the past 4 years. I am now deeply concerned that after the years of litigation that these laws will now be changed with a stroke of a pen. Okay? You know, is this a good move for the community? I've lived on Orangeburg Road for 61 years. I am very, very aware of Van Houten Farms. I'm very intimate with what went on down there for all the years, and I grew up as a kid playing down there in the reservoir and all around the area. This is a very, very prosperous business. They were a cash cow, and I just find it very disturbing that suddenly, when the cider works was told to shut down, suddenly everyone is being told that we're going to lose the farm. Okay, that farm has been making money since I could ever remember, and this illegal cider works that was shut down is all of a sudden now threatening to sell off this business because they can't make it. And I just don't think that this is a good move for the community, as everyone mentioned here, for the neighborhood, and as my wife and everyone else have been saying, one business does not change the laws of the town of Orangetown, and you really need to take that into consideration. Thank you.
There was someone in the back.
My name is Tim O'Donohue. I live on Swanican Road in Blauvelt. I'm here in support of the change of zoning for the Rockland Cider Works, which is an expansion of a business, not a brand-new business. Things change, folks. It's not 1840. That's not that little quiet strip of road anymore. So we can sit here and pretend that it's never going to change, but the reality is it's going, and it's happening faster and faster. The woman from South Nyack mentioned special interests. Why is she afraid of that? I think we all know the elephant. There's a way for this to work. It's your job to figure it out. The neighbors, I understand your point. I'm a neighbor. I understand it. But this can work. Make it work. Thank you.
Anybody else like to speak that hasn't had a chance?
Hello, my name is Faith Kuster, and I live at 54 Sickletown Road, 2 doors away from Van Houten Farms and RCW. We have lived in Pearl River for 32 years and on Sickletown Road for 25. I am a patron of Van Houten Farms and a volunteer for the handicap horseback riding program adjacent to the farm. This proposed local law, although targeted to Van Houten Farms, will affect all of Orangetown. There are at least 5 other 5-acre lots in Orangetown that could be eligible to apply to operate a cidery, a winery, or an open-air bar. This then affects all of the neighbors around these properties as much as it affects ours. My concerns are the safety of the motorists and pedestrians on Sickletown Road. We do not have sidewalks. We have had multiple accidents in front of our house. Adding unsupervised alcohol consumption to this will only make it more dangerous, a more dangerous stretch of the road. The outdoor amplified music volume can endanger the riders in the handicap program. I cannot emphasize enough how invaluable this program is to our community of special needs individuals. The sense of athleticism, accomplishment, and connection to horses are positive attributes in their development. I have personally seen the priceless smiles of the special needs riders after a safe session with a horse. Parking for the cidery is another concern. In previous years, we have experienced the Woodstock effect of over-attendance and inadequate parking. The proposed on-site parking appears to make provisions for about 60 cars, 125 cidery guests and employees. What about the farm stand and garden center guests? Where are they allowed to park? At the last event, the street parking on Blauvelt Road was substantial. The parking for these events results in numerous near misses with backing into busy double yellow line roads. In conclusion, I live in a residential neighborhood. An open-air bar and music venue hosting 125 people several days a week is disruptive and dangerous. This proposal is dangerous for the motorists, pedestrians, and the special needs riders. Zoning laws are supposed to protect all its residents. Please take this into consideration as your further deliberations. Thank you.
Anybody else wants to speak that has a chance to speak?
Hi, my name is Kelly Spadacini. I'm of Van Houten. I'll keep it short and sweet. I just want to voice my support for my family and those fighting against RCW. I grew up living directly next to the farm, and as far as long as I can remember, it was always a quiet and peaceful corner of town. The only sound I can remember is hearing my dad carrying out his workday next door, or Laura down at the barn giving lessons to horseback riders. Then once my dad was removed from our family business and the new owners came in, these people had no idea what they were disturbing or who the neighbors were that lived next door to them. They are not from here, and they don't care about those living directly next to the premises and how their business is affecting them. And for everyone saying that a cidery is a fun addition to town, those people don't live right next door. You live a mile and a half away, or in New City, or on Swanican Road. We as neighbors would like for it to go back to the way it was before the cidery was established and have the peace, quiet, and respect restored. Sure, a cidery could be fun, but take your fun elsewhere. Thanks.
Hello, Paul Kuster, 54 Sickletown Road. We know you're deliberating over zoning change and special permits, and there are things I think you should very carefully take into consideration. First is the traffic. It's been mentioned, but a complete traffic study I think is going to be necessary for this project. The intersection at Blauvelt and Sickletown is a blind intersection, and in the summertime when the vines grow on the fence, it becomes impossible to be able to not pull out into Sickletown Road to observe traffic coming. And the traffic does come, and quite often faster than the speed limit allows. A second thing for consideration is the capacity. You know, there's been talk about the capacity of just the cider works being considered in the special permit, but the capacity of the entire site has to be considered because it is very fluid in terms of whether you're buying pine trees or you're listening to music. And so the cap has to look at the entire location. And it can't be just driven by parking because alternative transportation might be possible to get people there. And so the overall capacity of the site has to be looked at. There's roughly 40 hours permitted in terms of the cidery activity. And then there is the opportunity for twice a month special events that are not only allowed to break the restrictions related to the to the special permit, but to allow amplified music, and that will certainly exceed the decimals related to the sound that's permitted by the town. I'm not understanding why special permits have to be issued for special events. It just seems to be excessive in terms of use. There's no mention of conformity to sanitary codes, building codes, or fire codes in the special permit. I think they all have to be part of the consideration if a special permit is being offered. And a site plan needs to be proposed, and I think the site plan should be proposed and available to the public for review before it is approved.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anybody else who would like to speak that hasn't had a chance to speak?
Hi, I'm Patricia DeGraw from Blauvelt. I'm going to say that I lived here my whole life. I am in support of Van Houten's. I went before and with the current owners now. I just have, say that even after they were shut down, on Mother's Day, they had called the cops. When there was no music, no drinking, no anything, I was shopping there for flowers. And I went over to the cops and I said, and he said there was a car there and whatever, and they just had to ask them to move. But I said, there's 3 cops here. If there's an emergency that really happens, why is everybody here? Okay, there shouldn't be every 5 minutes somebody calling the cops to come down there. They should take pictures if they want to email them to you and things like that, but I don't think we should have cops down there every day, every other day, when Rockland Cider Works had been shut down. I also agree with the woman that was talking about the new houses going up. I know you guys are from here. If you just look at Erie Street with Irene's property, so far I've counted 4 houses on her one property. She didn't even have she had a nice sized property, but not enough that they should be putting so many houses on her property.
Erie.
Okay. I think at any time when Van Houten's feels they're not making what they want, the revenue that they want, they can sell. It's not your decision, my decision, or anybody else's in this room for them to decide how much money they need to make a year for them to stay there. They can do whatever they want at any time. And the amount of houses that you're putting on Erie Street, just picture how many houses could go there. I think it's a family-friendly place. I don't drink at all. I don't go to Cider Works. I shop at the nursery. I bring my niece down there when they were open and they had people. I've never had people coming from over bothering us, anything. I don't want to see them go, and I think everybody has to stop doing the tit for tat and look at the bigger picture and not develop the property. Thank you.
Is there anybody else here who would like to speak?
I've got a lot of stuff to go through. Jerry Goggins, Sickletown Road. First of all, as you know, the RCW's ability to prosecute their case was interrupted by a temporary restraining order. This was followed by, and the temporary restraining order was granted by the judge, who felt that there was credible reason to believe that the ownership of the property was in dispute, and that the further development of the property was going to do harm to the people who are disputing it. And this was followed, interestingly, by a publication online by RCW saying, due to an 11th hour slimy move by the attorney representing the neighbors, implying that the neighbors had to do with this. But in fact, this TRO or OTSC was filed by Chris and Sharon Van Houten pursuant to their case. It had nothing to do with our case. The motion filed is baseless and frivolous, reading again from this online. Well, the judge didn't think so, evidently. And I believe everybody should have their day in court and should have due process. There should be no doubt now that the neighbors' arguments hold no water. Well, you've heard from the neighbors. You know, whether you agree with them or not, it's not like our arguments hold no water. Now, And then they say this was filed at the last minute, so we didn't have a chance to go into court and protest and whatever. But in fact, they did respond to the judge. It's just that the judge didn't find their arguments convincing and didn't lift the temporary restraining order. Now, as part of that filing, they filed some really interesting documents which are publicly available on NYSCEF site. And those included the trust agreement, wherein Jim Van Houten has signed over all his valuable property to the trust. And included in this valuable property is the green markets business. It's valuable enough that it needs to be protected by the trust. But I bet you haven't heard a whole lot of mention, other than maybe from me and maybe one or two other people, and certainly not from the Van Houtens, of their green markets business. Now, surprise, they haven't given me access to their financial records. But I can tell you that Chris and Sharon can testify that when they were running the site, the green markets business was extremely lucrative. That was really what was holding everything together. And yet, it hasn't been mentioned in the numerous pleadings about the RCW or Van Houten's going out of business. I ask you, why is that? Why wouldn't you mention that business that was, at least at one time, known to be extremely lucrative? It makes me wonder. So, in summary, I'd like to say, give Chris and Sharon their day in court. I'll tell you what good neighbors are. First time I met Chris, he came over and said, "You're snowed in, I'm sending somebody to plow your drive." And if I may say one more thing, they need setbacks for their property, even though it's not a separate lot. And finally, one more thing, why doesn't the town purchase a conservation easement on the property if you're worried about the development? Thanks very much.
Is there anybody else here who wants to speak who has not had a chance to speak? Okay.
Hi, my name's Karen Costello from Bardonia, New York. I just wanted to clear some. I was just wondering if it's a conflict of interest, Mr. Valentine, since you installed the electricity at the cidery, that you're personally, that why would you be able to vote on a zoning change? I just find that a little circumspect, that you personally are profiting from the cidery that you're changing a zoning law on. Just throwing it out.
Is there anybody else here who?
Hi, my name is Stephen Jokum, and I recently moved back to Pearl River. I've lived here the first 25 years of my life, and I moved to another part of the county for my wife and I, who was also from Pearl River. And we lived in a town where, unfortunately, the local government became a little corrupt. That corruption was passed on to the taxpayers. Zoning laws were changed to help a few, but to detriment to many. And I don't think I see the value in changing something that helps one. Yes, very admirable. Yes, we want to save a landmark in our society, our community. I grew up right up the street, rode my bike down to Silver Rocks, jumped in the water, went to Van Houten's Farms, got apple cider, got my caramel apple. I was there many times as a youngster. Do I want to see it go? No. But again, as somebody said, change happens. We can slow change down by not making it easy for change to happen. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Anybody else? I think looking out there, I don't really see too many. Anybody else want to speak that has not had a chance to speak? Okay.
Motion to close the public portion.
Wait. Oh, thank you. I'm all confused. I was doing the public hearing. Okay. Yes. So, so I have a second?
A second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. I'm just going to make just a couple of comments, and again, this is not a public hearing, but I just wanted to go a couple things that were touched upon. One, the private dispute amongst the family members. I know in one of the pleadings it says about the town doesn't care. It's not that the town doesn't care. The town cannot legally insert itself into a private dispute among, we cannot become the judge and the jury. So we basically go with the last deed of record, who's the owner, and, it's not our place to say, oh, we're taking a side in a legal matter, which apparently is on appeal at the appellate division. So, again, it's not that we don't care, it's just that we're not legally in a position to start making decisions on who's right and who's wrong on that perspective. Zone changes, again, they're done, I'm not going to say regularly, but they are something that's done, on an occasion. And, to insinuate that every zone change is corruption or something's up to no good is just not a fair statement to this town board. So with that said, I would say that I know there was some comments about traffic studies and capacity. If any zone change is granted, the applicants would still have to go to the planning board. There would certainly be fire inspector, who's already been out there, would be out there. Building inspector would be out there. There'd be, again, planning board would look into parking and all those issues, safety issues or whatever. There'd be a site plan. I mean, honestly, if this was approved tonight, which clearly it's not, anything was approved tonight, they're looking at a year or two before, there's a process. There's a big process. So it's not like if the town board says we're in favor of a zone change, they're going to start serving cider the next day, because they're not. With that said, I don't think there's any decisions made by this board, speaking for myself.
No.
I find this very compelling. That's why we have public hearings. So on that note, I will.
But this was not the public hearing.
I said
This is not a public hearing. This is
Not a
just
public hearing, but that's
portion.
why we have public hearings.
And-
I don't want to be going astray
Yeah,
of the judge.
Again, Mr. Kuster, Paul Kuster, he hits on everything that the public hearing would want to hit on. Capacity, parking, music, special events. I always thought food trucks would have to be addressed. Sanitary code, fire code, site plans. But we're not there yet because we haven't got to a public hearing yet. We haven't heard petitioner, we haven't heard respondents in a hearing where everything goes on record. And so, but this is the second time you've been here and you've hit on everything that I agree with you, is that these are things that would have to be discussed or talked about and considered, but we're still not there. And thankfully, I will be at the county in January, so I won't be here to hear this. Someone else will be there. But, I've sat down with both sides trying to come up with some compromise, and the parties are never going to compromise on this. So it is what it is. But again, kudos to Mr. Kuster again for bringing out into the light what really needs to be discussed if there's ever a public hearing on this.
I think that we have to come to a conclusion, one that either satisfies the neighbors or satisfies Van Houten's, or hopefully something in the middle that's gets everybody angry, but meets
Okay, everybody had their
meets a
chance.
compromise in the middle. So it's just been dragging on too long. I think the neighbors deserve an answer, whether it's yes or no, and I think the Van Houten's deserve an answer, whether it's yes or no. To keep dragging this on is just unfair to both the neighbors and to the Van Houten's. I'm hoping that the public hearing can go forward in January, and we can hear from both sides and make an educated decision, and put this to rest and move on. That's my feeling.
Anything from this side of the table? You're good? Okay. 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 Yeah, we're just going to take a 2-minute break before we move on. Bathroom breaks and stuff.
I have a lot to say. Never. No, what? It's all going to come out again? It's a panel. I agree with you. You can't see that. But you know what? I'm not giving, I'm not answering.
Brian's gonna be a while.
Motion to come out of
Our break.
our break.
I don't think we took a motion to go in, did we? All in favor?
Aye.
I don't really, do you have to take a motion to have a break? I don't even know.
Exactly.
Okay.
Let's get through this. Number 9.
Thank you. Number 9. Okay. Can I get a motion to set the public hearing date of January 23rd for regarding?
Moved.
Guys, we're continuing with the meeting.
Oh, look at him getting all, whoa, look at Brian showing some.
Oh,
Okay.
everyone's sitting here.
That's okay, who cares?
Excuse me, folks? We just have to continue with the meeting? Thank
You
you.
can stay and be quiet, or you can go in the hallway. Okay, so who made a motion?
Me.
Second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, declaration of intention of town board to serve as lead agency with regard to the outdoor parking of storage vehicles, whatever the hell that is.
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Number 11, can I get a motion to authorize the candle agreement for the 2024?
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Number 12, a motion to approve the 2024 agreement with the Hudson Valley Humane Society.
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Glad to say we're sticking with these people.
We're sticking with them.
We're sticking with them.
It's just too good to be true. Okay. Number 13, approve a one-year contract with the Fire Protection Services of Blauvelt Fire Protection and the Blauvelt Volunteer Fire Company.
Moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Number 14, approve a one-year contract for library services with the Orangetown Library District with the Blauvelt, Orangeburg, Palisades, and Japan Free Libraries.
Moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I'm tired.
Number 15, motion to approve the, renew the agreement with for Toshiba copier leases.
Moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I would really wish Jim was here to talk about this. Is everyone okay with this?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, because we raised it like 2 years ago and people went crazy, so it seems like we're raising it again a little quick.
$60 for the year. I mean, I do it every year. It's not like. It's fine.
Okay.
Drop anything.
Yep. And I won't be here.
Okay.
Still gonna be a resident?
Okay, so it's actually going from 50 to 60, just for the record. Okay, so can I get a motion upon the recommendation of Superintendent of Highways to increase the annual drop-off fee to $60?
Motion.
Moved. Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Number
Good luck, Joe.
Number 17, approve the caretaker agreement for the Henry Borst Park property. That's to Brian Edwards. Motion?
Moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. That's right.
Number 18, approve the caretaker agreement with Louis Caputo for the Nike Park property. Motion?
Moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Miola.
Yeah, number 19, accept with regret, I guess, the retirement of police officer Andrea Demiola, if I'm saying it right?
Yeah, Demiola.
Demiola.
Moved.
Okay. Jerry moved, second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Number 20, approve additional services for the air monitoring at the town hall demolition.
I'll move that.
Tom, did you move second?
Good thing to do.
All in favor?
Aye.
Number 21, approve the engagement letter with Capital Market Advisors, our financial advisor. Motion?
Motion.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Number 22, approve engagement letter with PKF O'Connor Davis for auditing services for a 2-year term.
Moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, number 23. So we are approving the grade change, the real property data collector 2 in the assessor's office to a grade 9.
All right. Moved.
Tom Divini, move second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Number 24, we're going to appoint Katrina Morrison to the position of real property data collector 2. Again, a grade 9 will fill in the step and salary tomorrow. Effective November 26th, yes.
All right.
That's very important that we make that effective November 26th. Motion?
Moved.
Tom Divini, move second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Good.
Number 25, reclassify the position of real property appraiser and appoint U. Davies to the senior real property appraiser effective November 29th.
Moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Number 26, lend assistance to the Share Christmas, December 15th. Motion.
Move. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Town board meeting calendar.
Okay.
Mr. Magrino, you have any comments? I've never seen a person so hung up on a calendar as the town attorney.
I can't make the 24th.
Okay, so there's the calendar. It's been very well thought out and negotiated between Allison and Carmel and Rosanna and Ron Magrino, so hopefully it works. Can I get a motion to approve the calendar?
Move.
Second? Brian?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we have some accept and receive documents in the town clerk's office.
Moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
So great. Jeff, 4 items or less.
Yeah, make it quick.
Let's go. I get excited to see you because I know the meeting's almost over, so let's.
Thanks, Jeff.
We have executive session, so settle down. I think.
The audit for tonight consists of 2 warrants for $1.5 million. Items of interest, number 1, Arthur Gallagher, $78,000 for workers' comp audit. Number 3, Department of Civil Service, $913,000 for healthcare benefits. Number 6, Keenan Bean, $38,000 for outside legal counsel. And number 11, the State Comptroller, $29,000 for justice fines. Any questions on the audit?
Did you just randomly pick them, or did you, was there any thought process to that?
I told him 4.
I know, I heard you say it, but I was like, did you just randomly pick them?
The high
Okay.
dollar items, I have them marked already.
There wasn't any big items.
Motion to accept the audit.
That was weird. You usually have like these.
Jerry moves, second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so we do have to go into executive session, unfortunately, to discuss employment matters and the proposed acquisition, sale, lease of real property when publicity might affect the value. Can I get a motion to go into executive session?
Moved.
Second.
All in favor?
The adjournments?
Oh, yeah, sorry. And we do have 2 adjournments. Thomas Markham, a resident of Pearl River, and Mary Riley, mother of Commissioner Eamon Riley of Deemy. Okay. So you just want to take these now?